Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to part 4 of our Mail and Guardian and Gauteng Provincial Legislature budget votes webinar sessions. We've been doing this from this past Monday, getting understanding as to how the portfolio committees, viewed the these adopted budgets. And so far, it has been eye-opening. It has been empowering for those who were here in those sessions. And this evening, we should be having 3 chairpersons joining us. But right now, we only have 1 who is with us. We are hoping that the 2 other chairpersons will be joining us shortly. So we thought, let's not punish you at all. We don't like punishing the punctual at all. It's 3 minutes past 6. We want to welcome our friends at the different radio stations which are today joining us, and that's Ngangala FM. That's somewhere in the east of Gauteng. Hope FM must be somewhere in the Vaal. That's Moretele Soshanguve FM, far north Gauteng. That's Kofifi FM, somewhere there, almost next to the old Sophia town. All right. What we're going to do, we are going to give the 3 chairpersons an opportunity to present. But first, let me acknowledge also those who are viewing using the Mail and Guardian's YouTube channel, and those who are attending on this very platform, the webinar jam that we are on right now. And also, excuse my coughing a little bit, just having a bit of a challenge from yesterday in terms of exhaustion and all that, but we shall pull through. All right. Allow me at this point to thank the Gauteng Legislature, Gauteng Provincial Legislature, for sponsoring these sessions, and the Mail and Guardian for hosting these sessions. My name is Hector. Some of you in the past knew me as Hector Mutau. The surname changed along the way is Hector Matade, and some would know me as Hector Motivator. All right. Why are we here today? This speaks to the mandate, one of the mandates of the Gauteng Provincial Legislature. As we know that the main mandate is lawmaking and also that of oversight, but there is another one that is corporate governance, and the 4th one that speaks to what we are doing today is public participation. I just want to welcome, is it Honorable Makubela who's there with us? I can't see your picture, but is that Honorable Makubela? Welcome.
Yes,
Can you hear me? Thank you so much. You're welcome.
Loud and clear.
Thank you. All right. To avoid quality of streaming that was a little bit challenging yesterday, may I humbly request that even you, Honorable Gregory Schneeman, if we can switch off the video and maybe the microphone, and then I will allow you, when you come and do your presentation, to switch on your mic and your camera, as advised earlier by our technical staff, that could improve the quality of the stream that we are having. Now, as part of implementing the Gauteng Provincial Legislature's oversight and public participation mandates, portfolio committees have recently undertaken a process of scrutinizing budget votes of the provincial government departments and the GPL for the 2021-2022 financial year. During this time, portfolio and standing committees assess the annual budgets of provincial government departments, which highlight budget allocations against annual performance plans. The process includes a determination and assessment of the department's performance against the priorities identified in both the State of the Nation Address, the SONA, and the State of the Province Address, the SOPA, as they relate to government departments. The aim of the 2021-2022 budget vote analysis is to provide committees of the legislature with an opportunity to scrutinize the budget allocated to departments. This analysis assists the committees in making decisions of whether the allocated budget to departments is in line with the planned performance targets as outlined in the department's annual performance plans, APPs, as we commonly know them. It is imperative that this analysis reveals whether the budget allocation and the APP remains aligned to the provincial priorities as outlined in the State of the Province Address of 2019 for the five-year political term. The current financial year budget allocations to departments come at a time when the nation is seized with an enormous responsibility of combating the COVID-19 pandemic and its social and economic impacts on society. I know even the members of the Gauteng legislature have also been affected, with some of the members who were battling COVID itself or their relatives. This has led to many budget cuts to department and stringent allocation of resources. All of this will have some negative impact on service delivery and the implementation of the province's Growing Gauteng Together 2030 GGT 2030 strategy. It is thus important for the committees of the GPL to pay close attention to the budgets of the departments and how they are spent to ensure that there is minimal impact on service delivery that is needed so badly in this province, which is geographically the smallest in South Africa, but yet the biggest, because it is the economic hub of South Africa. Actually, Gauteng houses all the provinces. Everybody comes here in search of well, maybe literal gold and that proverbial gold. Now, knowing all the challenges that we have in Gauteng, we need all of you chairpersons to bring us into your confidence, to assure the public that's streaming, watching right now, as to are their monies being used according to what it has been budgeted. And as we were looking at the budgets from yesterday and the days before in part 1, part 2, part 3, yesterday especially, from Honorable Joe Mpisi, we heard how he was distraught over the fact that some departments were underspending. And that was a big concern. And you ask yourself, how do we have this much underspending when we have so much need in the province? And maybe we don't understand as a public. The two chairpersons who are here today will help us to understand that. And you know that the Gauteng Provincial Legislature, let me emphasize it to you again, they are responsible for lawmaking, not implementation. Lawmaking, oversight, cooperative governance, and public participation. They are the ones like a hawk monitoring all these departments, looking at their budgets to make sure that the departments are doing what they have promised us to do. Now, today, unfortunately, looks like we only have 2 chairpersons, not 3, as expected. It looks like we don't have the chairperson of the portfolio Committee on Infrastructure and Development, Honorable Modise. It looks like we don't have Honorable Modise at all. But we do have Honorable Makubela. May I just confirm if you are replacing or representing Honorable Lasindwana?
Yes, thank you very much, sir. I am indeed representing Honorable Lasindwa, who is having a bereavement. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you so much for that, Honorable Makubela. And my apologies again. I think I chopped the surname of Honorable Lasindwa. I added a na there. My apologies. All right. We have been with Honorable Schneeman at the beginning of the week. I think he was in the very first one where he had to jump in for somebody else, in I think Honorable Diale in Human Settlements, if I remember well. And he's back again here tonight. And since you have been here before, I am going to start with you so that Honorable Makubela can hear how this thing goes. So we're going to, today, fortunately, you are looking at your your own portfolio as a chairperson of this portfolio of committee, roads and transport. Honorable Shineman, Gregory, I'm going to give you an opportunity to take us through this budget, highlighting your assessment, the programs, and what you're going to do with this huge budget, which is one of those few that I'm realizing has an increase. It is at the moment for the current financial year at 8.6 billion. But let me not steal your thunder further. Let me let you do your presentation.
Thank you very much, Hector, once again. And you're quite correct. This is the second time that I'm on this webinar. And the last time was on Tuesday evening when I stood in for the chairperson of COCTA and Human Settlements member, Diali. And a very good evening to the viewers and the listeners that have joined, and those who are also listening via the 4 community radio stations that I believe are linked up as well. And there's also a very good evening to my colleague, Honorable Bisejo Makubela. And thank you for the opportunity. Firstly, just to indicate, I think I need to indicate up front that the Portfolio Committee doesn't get involved in determining how the budget that has been allocated at the Department of Roads and Transport, we don't get involved in determining how that is spent. That is obviously the department, who in turn reports to the MEC for Roads and Transport in Gauteng, and the MEC is MEC Jacob Mamabolo. So I just wanted to just indicate that. However, as the Portfolio Committee on Roads and Transport, our mandate, as is with all other portfolio committees in the legislature, is to perform an oversight function over the department, how it spends its money, how it's rolling out the various programs, projects, etc., that fall under it. And it's our job to interrogate their performance on a quarterly basis. We look at the annual performance plans. We would look at the budget that was allocated for per quarter and interrogate that and interact and engage with the department. And where we've got concerns, obviously we would raise that. And where we need answers, we would request that they provide answers. So I thought I should just give that indication as to what the role of the Portfolio Committee is. But let me just indicate that we've had an opportunity to engage the department on the budget for the financial year 2021-2022. And for the benefit of those who have tuned in and have joined the session, the financial year starts on the 1st of April of 2021, and it concludes on the 31st of March 2022. So that is how the financial year of government operates. And I'm going to run through quickly just to indicate what has been allocated to the department. So the Department of Roads and Transport has been allocated a budget for this particular financial year, as from the 1st of April of this year, a budget of 8.6 billion rand, and that has come from 2 different sources. So firstly, 5.1 billion rand comes through what we call the equitable share, and then an amount of 3.5 billion rand comes through conditional grants. And that is how the overall budget of 8.6 billion rand is made up. Very quickly, how is that money going to be used? Firstly, the Department of Roads and Transport has 4 branches, 4 programs, if I can call it that, and I'll quickly run through them. Firstly, the program 1 is called Administration, and that has received a budget allocation of 423 million rand. And the program is responsible for the management and support function for the Office of the MEC and also for the department. Program 2 is called Transport Infrastructure. It's been allocated a budget of 2.4 billion rand. And that program is responsible for infrastructure planning, infrastructure design, construction, maintenance of roads, etc. Also falling under that program. It's something I'll come to just now, but it's a new structure that's been put in place, which we are very excited about as a portfolio committee, and that is the Transport Infrastructure House, but I'll come back to that just now. Program 3 is called Transport Operations. They've been given a budget of 3 billion rand, and they're responsible for planning, regulation, and facilitating the provision of integrated land transport services. So that's Program 3. And then the last program in the department, Program 4, is called Transport Regulation. They've been allocated a budget of 345 million rand, and they are responsible for some of the following items. In the main, regulation of traffic on public infrastructure, limited law enforcement in the province, implementation of road safety education. And the last particular area, and it's the main area, is the registration and licensing of vehicles and drivers. So that's what that program deals with. Then we have the Gautrain, and I'm sure all of you are familiar with the Gautrain. The Gautrain is one of the entities that reports to the Department of Roads and Transport. They have a budget of 2.4 billion rand, which they have been allocated for this financial year. And the last entity, which reports and falls under the Department of Roads and Transport, is called G-Fleet. They have been allocated a budget of 794 million rand, and they are responsible for the provision of motor vehicles to government departments, and all related services go with that. So that's the budget for the department, its program, and also the budget for the Gautrain and for G-Fleet, which I've indicated to you. Just to indicate as well, we, as I've reported earlier, are responsible for performing oversight over the department. So these amounts that have been budgeted per program to the Gautrain, a Gautrain Management Agency, and to G-Fleet are amounts that we will be interrogating and watching very carefully. So every quarter, at the end of every quarter, the department and its entities would provide reports, quarterly reports on their expenditure, their programs, on how they've performed. We would scrutinize that. We would go into detail. We would scrutinize that. We would look at the annual performance plans. We would look at what they plan to spend on a quarterly basis. And that's how we would perform our oversight. And where there are areas where they haven't performed, we would ask for answers. We would ask for explanations. So in the main, that's how we perform our oversight. And I just want to say that the oversight is not only just through meeting with the department and having a conversation, but we would generally go out into the field. So, for instance, if they had planned to construct a particular road, we'd go and have a look at that road. We wouldn't just take it from the department that everything's fine. We'd actually physically go out there. Obviously, the circumstances in which we find ourselves at the moment, the issue of COVID-19, does make some of the oversight a little bit more difficult. But where we can, and under safe conditions, we undertake such oversight visits. So I think in the main, I've tried to give you an indication. I just want to say, though, that one of the challenges that the department has been facing over the last few years is in the area of performance. And certainly it's a matter that the previous portfolio committee, this portfolio committee, would have been raising on an ongoing basis since 2019, since the committee was appointed. And I just want to indicate that there's a couple of steps that have been taken by the MEC responsible for roads and transport, MEC Mamabolo. For the first time since 2016, there is now a stable senior management within the department. All positions have been filled. There's an HOD, there's a chief financial officer, there's a deputy director general responsible for roads, and a deputy director general responsible for transport services. And as the portfolio committee, we are pleased with this, and we applaud the MEC for having taken steps to make sure these positions are filled. And we are hopeful that with these positions having been filled with permanent appointments, that we will see a significant improvement in the performance of the department. and certainly that we would move away from years of underperformance, blocked projects, roads not completed, etc. So I thought I just wanted to highlight that. The second thing that has happened as well, my last point I want to raise, deals with the construction of roads and road projects that have stopped and have been blocked for various reasons. It might have been issues related to contractors. The MEC and the department have put in place what we call an infrastructure house, which will be overseeing all projects, which will be focusing on how to get projects that have been stalled for many years restarted. So I just wanted to touch on those. I think, Hector, let me stop there, and we'll obviously take the discussion forward. Thank you very much.
Oh, you're welcome, sir. And may I just take you back to that report and on your concerns that you have raised in the report, especially these three things: booking, DLTC, that's the driver license testing center, the Vereniging rank, because we want to really talk about things that affect people directly. Here, the K46 William Nicol project. My biggest concern when I was reading this on behalf of the public, and if you're a member of the public and you are watching via the Mail and Guardian's YouTube channel, or you are on this channel, if you have questions, please do raise them here. Just type them out on this platform. The issue around those two things. And also the decrease in the budget of the Gautrain. What do you, what's the reason there? What do you attribute that to? That's the word I was looking for. And also those three issues, the 2-year delays in those, when we really know that Gauteng is one of the busiest provinces and transport is so badly needed. And I will leave the other issues to the members of the public, because there's been a lot of concerns raised about the quality of the roads we have. If you listen to talk radio stations, you'll always hear people complaining about potholes and all these things there. And as a chairperson of this committee, has your committee been looking at this, and what is it that has been done? Have you been getting petitions from the members of the public? Just please help us out with those issues.
No, thank you once again, Hector. Let me start with the last point first. Yes, as a portfolio committee, we've been extremely concerned about the condition of roads in the province, potholes, etc. I just need to give some clarification. The Provincial Department of Roads and Transport is not responsible for the maintenance of roads in a municipality. So let's take an area of Johannesburg where I live, let's take a road in Johannesburg that I can think of right now. There's a road near where I stay called Apollo Road. All right. Now, if that road has got potholes in, it's a municipal road. It's therefore the function of the municipality to repair that road, not the Department of Roads and Transport in the province. The Department of Roads and Transport in the province is responsible for the repair and maintenance of provincial roads. So I just wanted to give some clarity there. However, let me just say this, we are aware, and that the MEC Mamabolo has been interacting with municipalities and around the whole issue of providing well-maintained roads and ensuring that we provide world-class roads in our province. And what they have put in place is a program, certainly from the province. They've put in a program that is focusing on the repairing, upgrading, and maintenance of provincial roads. And it's a program that's named the Smart Mobility Weekends. And what they are doing is, in conjunction with municipalities, they go into an area, focus on particular provincial roads, but get the municipalities to then focus on the roads that link up to those provincial roads that are municipal roads. So let me give an example. 2 weekends ago, in fact, this past weekend, I was in Magaliesburg, where the Department of Roads and Transport at provincial level is doing major road maintenance and upgrading on a section of the provincial road that runs through Magaliesburg. That's the responsibility of the province. At the same time, there are municipal roads that are linking in to that provincial road that runs through Magaliesburg. And so when I was there on Sunday, the department, the provincial department dealing with the provincial road, and the municipality was on site fixing potholes, upgrading roads that run into that provincial road. It's an innovative program that has been launched this year by the MEC, and certainly from where I sit and the weekends that I've been able to visit, it's making a huge difference. And I think this shows how well government can work together in coordinating its efforts. Province fixing the main road, municipalities fixing roads that link into it. So I wanted to touch firstly on that. Secondly, you've raised the issue of the K46, which is an extension of William Nicol Drive, and it runs past Diepsloot. It's also known as the R511. And that is a project that was started a good number of years ago and came to a standstill. I know that when sort of back in 2017, thereabouts, it had already come to a standstill. And it's a project that we've been extremely concerned about because the road that runs past Diepsloot is narrow, it's dangerous, has a lot of traffic on it. And we are particularly happy that the MEC has announced that a contractor has been appointed and is expected to be on site to start upgrading and to start the completion of that road somewhere around mid-July. And as a portfolio committee, we will be watching that closely because when that road is completed, it's going to improve and enhance the transport and the commuter experience of commuters using that road, particularly those who live in Diepsloot. And then the Vereniging taxi rank that has been on the cards for some time. Yes.
Sorry for interruption, Honorable Member. I just want to find out what was the reason for that delay with that road that we've just spoken about, the K46. What was the major cause? Why is it that it's only now that we find that the service provider, it's good news that the service provider has been appointed, but what was the reason? What was the holdup? What was the delay? From your assessment?
What I can tell you is that there was a contractor in place. So if you go out there, you will see that there has some work took place. There's two bridges that were constructed, and work was started. It came to a halt. There were challenges with the contractor. It landed up constantly going to court, and it's taken a while for the department to be able to get to a place where they can appoint a new contractor. So there were legal ramifications, and it was a matter that involved challenges on the side of the previous contractor. I hope that provides the information that you're wanting. The last point that you had raised deals with the Vereniging taxi rank. It's been on the card for some time, and that particular project has been handed over to the Gautrain Management Agency, who have the responsibility of ensuring that that taxi rank is started and brought to completion. And it's also a project that we'll be watching closely. We welcome the fact that the MEC has taken these steps, that the GMA is going to be overseeing the project, and we look forward to that road project being completed, because once again, it's going to provide world-class services to taxi commuters, taxi owners, and taxi drivers in the Vereniging area. Thanks so much, Hector.
You're welcome. That is Honorable Gregory Schneemann, Chairperson of the Roads Transport Portfolio Committee. At this budget votes webinar that's been going on since Monday, and today we are on the last leg of it, part 4. All right, we're going to give you a chance later to respond to the following. Honorable Schneemann, Nkosazana Ndlovu, once again, welcome. Shane Swales, welcome to the session. Matlodi Makate, welcome to the session. Mtogo Madlala says, please provide the committee's position on the driver's license renewal process that is online, but ineffective. I don't know if you provide oversight on that. I think you should. Then Zamakele says, Roads and Transport Chair. The Steyn City Road in 4 ways. I don't know whether that falls under the municipality or under the province. In 4 ways is still incomplete. What is your position as a committee on all the unfinished roads around the province? And I think he has partly answered by also helping us with understanding which one falls under the department, the provincial government, and which one falls under the local municipalities. And then Sable Otterstrom, thank you once again for being here today. You've been with us almost, I think, from day one. He says, return on investment, Roy, with Gautrain. I know it's been a big question, even in the media. People are thinking that it was just a lot of expenditure, but the Gautrain not being profitable. So the return on investment with Gautrain, is it high? And does it pay for itself yet? Mainly, does Gautrain make profit for the province? And then, Willie van der Skeef says, views on the Hendrik Potgieter Road through Ruhreport, Region C, City of Joburg. Hendrik Potgieter Road is a provincial road. Now he emphasizes that you better make sure that you answer this one, because he is very sure that that's a provincial road. Now, I'm not going to give you a chance to answer now. Instead, I'll give you an opportunity to think about your answers and prepare yourself, while I allow, at this point, Honorable Lesego Makubela. Honorable Lesego Makubela is going to take us through that report of the chairperson of the Economic Development, Agriculture and Rural Development Portfolio Committee. We were expecting Honorable Lasindwa, so I am not so sure of Honorable Lesego's position. He will clarify that. But then what we are very interested in is how is this 1.5 billion in the current financial year of 2021-2022 going to be spent? Tell us about it, take us through the processes, priorities, the programs, the concerns, so that the people of Gauteng can be reassured that the province is indeed, the departments are indeed doing what they're supposed to do, as you hold them responsible through your oversight duties.
Good evening to yourself. Good evening to your listeners who are actually tuned in on your YouTube channel, and also all the media that you are using to reach out to listeners. Good evening to Honorable Chairperson of Transport and everyone else. Unfortunately, I'm standing in for Honorable Lasindwa, who has lost her son, and I was asked to step in. My name is Honorable Lesego Makubela. I'm a member of the committee, which is Economic and Rural Development. Thank you very much. I think we'll give just a brief summary about the work of the committee and our work as legislators. The department is actually two departments in one, as I have said. It's a Department of Economic and Rural Development, which has two departments, which is Economic Development and Agriculture, and also has 5 agencies, which I will deal with as we continue. But the key focus in the work of the department, which will actually be undertaken in the next 5 years and has started, will be what we have termed the special economic zones, which is a module that we use in all the 5 corridors of the province. I can with great confidence say that one of the special economic zones, which is the Tshwane automotive special economic zone, has actually in earnest kicked off, where we have partnered with Ford and the department and the national department on ensuring that we are able to expand the Ford manufacturing plant and ensuring that we not only assemble cars but manufacture all the components of all the cars that will be made here in Mamelodi, in Korea, in Tshwane. So that is one of the flagship program. The program is running. We know that Ford we have done so well. Ford is very happy with the progress that has been done, that has been made and registered on the program. And we are looking for actually the project itself has produced over almost 8,000 jobs in the Mamelodi area, the Tshwane area, and it's focusing to create more jobs. Ford is not only actually going to be manufacturing these pickup trucks that they are making there, they've now added the manufacturing of the VW Amarok, which is huge, and this is just a vote of confidence on the work in which the department has done in ensuring that we are able to bring foreign direct investments, as well as ensuring that we also use local skill. Most of the parts of these cars are actually locally sourced. Ford has actually even instructed all its manufacturers, component manufacturers, to actually even come into the country to actually start building plants, and we are already doing that, working with the city of Tshwane, working with Ford and all other stakeholders to ensure that it's a success. That is one of the flagship programs that we have. So over the past few months, we have taken decisive steps to build the capacity of Gauteng Gauteng economic development family by, for example, reconfiguring the Gauteng enterprise propeller, which is affectionately known as JEB, into a fit-for-purpose vehicle for blended financing, enterprise and supplier development. We have opened up recruitment for all the senior management positions and are now shortlisting candidates to assist us in the department. So JEB has been without any leadership for some time. The board has just been appointed. The CEO has been appointed. I'm not sure if ever there's just feedback that's coming now.
We can still hear you, although it's crackling a bit, but we can still hear you. You may proceed.
I must apologize. There's low shedding in the area, so I'm battling a bit. I must profusely apologize.
All right, you may proceed. Let's hope that everybody else can be able to hear you. I can hear you from this side.
Oh, okay. Thank you very much. So for the 2021 to the 2022 financial year, the allocation to the department amounts to 1.5 billion and was decreased to 1.44 billion over the medium term expenditure framework. In simple terms, this means we have to do more with less. And of course, this has been because of the impact of the COVID pandemic, where we had to surrender some of the funds for the COVID relief stimulus packages that had to be dispersed by national government. So now our budget is sitting at 1.4 billion, and this pushes us to do more with the less that we have. And we believe that we will not do this alone, and we need partnerships working with everyone. And while the Gauteng Economic Development and its agencies remain poised to contribute to the realization of the Gauteng of the GGT 2030 and the ERP, championed by Premier David Makhura and President Ramaphosa respectively, we hope we have made it clear that this allocation, as seen in the provision in the budget votes and allocated to agencies, will be able to actually assist us in achieving our annual performance plans. On what I spoke about earlier, on the what we term the special economic zones, We believe that reindustrializing Gauteng for the 21st century is taking shape through the build phase of the Tshwane Automotive Special Economic Zone, known as TAZAS, which is in the first stage of now confirmed 15.18 billion investment by Ford Motor Company. It is matched by 3.7 billion in allocated public investment to create a park that will produce at least 200,000 cars a year by 2022. The bulk of which is intended for the export market. This is very huge. I mean, we I can tell you are now entering into phase 2 of that particular project, and we look forward to actually seeing the plant working, creating over 200,000 cars by 2022. So as part of the Tshwane SEZ, several work packages for the SMMEs are processed and assigned to benefit local businesses, and we are working with local councillors in Mamelodi. We are working with business forums in Mamelodi. We are working with organized labor. We are working with all the small and medium enterprise developments in that area, and we believe that the project has set new high watermark for community level contracting, with 47% or 1.7 billion committed as contracting prioritized for companies at CIDB level 1 to 7 from Mamelodi and surrounding areas. And moreover, it is encouraging that 531 million in SMME packages will be allocated in the coming months as part of the build program to construct the first set of critical factories for this plant. This will include the first 4,890 of the 8,000 plus construction jobs this project will create, with the set asides for youth, women, and people who are living with disabilities at every level. Through the Gauteng Enterprise Propeller, we have partnered with AIDC, one of our agencies, to provide business development support to 30 automotive small enterprises in the AIDC Supply Development Program. This builds on AIDC's experience incubating companies in the value chain of the new Nissan Navara under a new partnership between Nissan Japan, Nissan South Africa, and the South African government, spearheaded by Gauteng provincial government. So we're very happy with the work of the progress made in this particular special economic zone. Another special economic zone which we are working with and which we think it will be fully operational by 2025 was in partnership with Transnet, DTIC, the Eastern Cape provincial government, and the Office of the President. This freight rail corridor will upgrade the whole South Core in a line to enable movement of much higher volumes of vehicles in and out of the Tshwane Special Economic Zone, and we believe that this is going to be big. The other special economic zone that we've been dealing with is the OR Tambo Special Economic Zone, which is an anchor of the broader Retropolis vision. Part of our partnership is to work on air access initiative aimed at enhancing air service connectivity between the global gateways and Gauteng province via OR Tambo International Airport. In addition, there is a VAL Special Economic Zone Management Company, which has been established in partnership with the DTIC, and it is currently securing expert support staff that will equip the SEZ to operate along the lines of the VAL Regional Economic Development Agency. And this is at the beginning of this, and then we've also doing a lot of work in what we've started, which was started by the previous MEC, what we call the township.
Now we're losing you a little bit there. If you can just maintain your position wherever you're standing, we lost you just a little bit there. Yeah, you were saying what was started by MEC Lebogang Maile. You can start there.
Yeah, what was started by MEC Lebogang Maile, which is what we term the township economy, or the Township Economic Revitalization Program. In support of this Township Partnership Fund, the GDED has allocated about 250 million, which is going to be deployed via the Gauteng Enterprise Propeller for wholesale lending into blended finance pools. We will be focusing our efforts on working capital, stock credit, and purchase order financing, supporting the full diversity of township-based businesses, targeting the taxi economy, the township property sector, and the umbrella groupings of township retailers. In this regard, we are proudly partnering with Toyota to drive the taxi rank and commercialization and component supply business with equity ownership by taxi associations. We are also working closely with the Black Business Council, the BBC, the National African Federated Chamber of Commerce, NAFCOC, and their various affiliates to ensure that these new blended finance channels will also be used to build enterprise and supply development pipelines into our 10 high growth sectors. And this is part of the work that we are doing in this. We are also part of the budget is also to invest on critical infrastructure programs. So we've come up with what we term the master planning process, which is complete for the new smart city in Linseria. It is projected that this will ultimately be home to over 3.5 million people. The master plan is key to designing a special purpose vehicle for bulk infrastructure through which a DBSA-enabled blended finance package will cover the cost of bulk and recovered through claiming percentage for the future service charges to developers and which residents will pay. We also have working with the Office of the Premier in ensuring that we make TEPO 1 million to actually work. TEPO 1 million is a program which has been spearheaded by the Office of the Premier, which is aimed to make sure that the young people who are entrepreneurs, young people who are in business, young people who are seeking employment are able to be assisted. Part of the action, part of the work that we will be doing is to link up these young people with the opportunities that are presented by our SEZ, and also link them with the catalytic infrastructure and township economic programs. On tourism, you know that the Gauteng is not that huge in terms of tourism. It's not your Cape Town, it's not your Durban, it's not your Mpumalanga, Limpopo, and other provinces. But we have established the Gauteng Tourism Authority, which is at the center of our developmental agenda to demonstrate our efforts. We are spearheading the Working for Tourism program, which is a community-based and youth-driven initiative aimed at refurbishing key tourism attractions in our provinces, starting with the government-owned facilities and those in our townships. We are working together with innovations hubs that we have established, and we will introduce digital and virtual tourism technologies to keep the destination top of mind, driven by tourism recovery plan as we prepare for future visitations into the province. We will also incorporate the objectives of the Tourism Equity Fund into our bigger picture approach, and through partnerships with the Gauteng Enterprise Propeller and other DFIs, we seek to broaden the search and impact of this transformation initiative to support Black industrialists in their visitor economy. Yeah, no, thank you very much.
Thank you very much for all of that. It sounds like your report was full of a lot of promises and a lot of good news, you know. But I didn't hear you really highlighting your concerns. And, you know, I'm listening to all of those mega projects that you are mentioning, and I remember I was involved with one as an MC when it was launched. I think it was during the reign of Ntate Gungubele in the Ekurhuleni, the Aerotropolis, where OR Tambo will be used as a hub of the economic activity around there into all of Gauteng. But the budget allocated here, would you say that it's enough to be able to cover all those things that you were mentioning? As a committee, were you guys satisfied that this is sufficient? And also, I looked at this, and I think you had a concern over the decrease, a sharp decrease of 15.11%. And now looking at what you are saying and the amount of work that needs to be done, and looking at this decrease, which I'm not so sure what led to it, you will explain to us. Are you, as a committee, fully satisfied that this is sufficient to be able to do all of those? And you also mentioned something about the 250 million rand for, I think it's for relief. It's a relief fund. It looks like the committee is really very concerned about its non-disbursement. And you look at what SMEs are going through because of this COVID pandemic, and when you realize that the money is not being spent, has the department been able to explain as to why hasn't this money been disbursed? Because on behalf of the public, that would be one thing I would want you to maybe go back to. But before you respond, let me say Sybil he says thanks for the info with regards to TAZES and Ford on youth sustainable employment.
Can you repeat that? Sorry, I did not get that. Sorry, profuse apologies.
Oh no, it was this one. She was just being grateful, thanking you for the information on the TAZES and the fourth and Ford on youth sustainable employment. She was just being thanking you, and then you can proceed to deal with the two issues that I highlighted there.
Yeah, well, I think which is something that you would have dealt with other departments that would have presented before you. You are dealing with two things. The first thing is that we are confronted with the demon of underspending, which I think you decried when you were speaking with Honorable Skiman. That demon of underspending is still there. You cannot stimulate the economy if you're not spending money. You cannot be able to ensure that there is economic activity if you are not spending your budget or your departmental budgets. Unfortunately, with the challenges that have been presented to us by the COVID-19 pandemic, the department, unfortunately, like any other departments and other even privately operating companies, we have to actually do more with the little that we have. For instance, if you can look into our investment into the teasers, we are partnering with private equity partners who are partnering with companies like Ford to ensure that we are able to make this thing work, and in that way we are able to make more with the less that we have. The less budget that we have, we are able to use it and to actually impact and to reach other areas that we can reach. For instance, if you look at the teasers model, for instance, government is only putting about 3.7 billion into the project. The rest of the money, the bulk of the money, is coming from Ford. And also you have an investment by the city of Tshwane, which has committed to actually at their own cost to put the bulk services infrastructure. And that whole partnership of Ford, the city of Tshwane, and government at our level is able to ensure that the less that we have, we are able to spread it, but then it's able to actually ensure that we have an impact on the economy, because this produces jobs. This will mean that there's over 22,000, which is huge. 22,000 cars that are going to be produced just here in Mamelodi. More than that, there's a new brand that is being brought there, which is Amarok, and that will also assist us in ensuring that the little that we have, we are able to actually spread it evenly. Yes, the budget is too little, and I agree with you. But then we have to ensure that we are able to make it work. Another issue which we have not been happy with, and I think we've highlighted it, has been on the COVID relief funds, and one of the reasons why it has been like that is because the agency which was given the responsibility to disperse the funds has been without leadership. The Housing Enterprise Propeller did not have a CEO. It did not have a board. They've just appointed the board. They've just appointed the CEO, and you could not actually commit such amounts of money into a structure where everybody is acting. It will have meant that we will have committed so much money, and people will not. No one was going to actually take accountability for that particular money. So when you have a leadership there, when you have a board, when you have a CEO which is the head of that structure, then you are able to have accountability. You are able to have a leadership that is able to design a framework, a structure, a process, and systems in which these monies will be able to make their way into businesses in Gauteng. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you so much. Actually, you even answered that issue because for me, it was a big concern of reconfiguration of the Gauteng Enterprise Propeller, because I was wondering, how is this now operating with so many problems? And I guess that's what led also to it being given zero budget, according to what I have read here. All right, so there's a question that says, from Willy van der Skeef. He says, we would appreciate the views of the committee on the West Rand Agriculture Hub, Taunton, Lanseria, and Mahalisburg. But before you answer that, let us go back to Chairperson, Honorable Shineman, to answer the questions that were posed to him that I read out to him earlier on.
No, thanks very much, Hector. Just in response to the questions that have been asked, firstly, in relation to the question dealing with the challenges around the use of the driver license renewal online system, I can say this, that as a portfolio committee, we have been raising this with the department and with the MEC. We've had reports of challenges that are being experienced. We've raised this, and we've been assured that steps have been taken and are being taken to address particular challenges that may have existed or might still exist. But let me say this, that as a portfolio committee, we would welcome members of the public to alert us and to bring to our attention any particular challenges that they might be facing, and we would immediately take that up with the department and to seek answers on that. In terms of the Steyn City Road that was raised, I think that's the road, that is the road we addressed earlier. There's a bit of an echo sound that I'm getting. I don't know if somebody else has got their microphone on. But in terms of the Steyn City Road, in four ways, that's the road I addressed earlier, the K46 that runs past Diepsloot, where we indicated that there would be a new contractor on site around about mid-July, and that's when we should start to see the construction of the road taking place through to its completion. But I just want to say this, that indeed, as a portfolio committee, we are extremely concerned, and we have been concerned about the number of unfinished roads in the province. This has been raised on a regular basis with the department, and we continue to raise this. And I did allude very briefly to a transport infrastructure house. And this is something that's been put in place through the initiative of the MEC and the department. And one of the roles of this transport infrastructure house will be to be able to keep a check and monitor all projects of the department in the province. And this transport infrastructure house will be able to pick up immediately where delays start to occur. And we are confident that if the transport infrastructure house is able to do what we are being told, then the situation of roads being started and then stopped should hopefully start to become a thing of the past, but also that prompt action and interventions would be made where problems start to develop which cause road construction to stop. Also, the Transport Infrastructure House will be paying a lot of attention on how to get many of these uncompleted and unfinished roads, how to get those projects back on track, make the necessary interventions so that we can see those roads being completed. One of our concerns as well is that where roads are stopped, so let's take the road that runs past Diepsloot, the K46. Construction work started on that a number of years ago. It's been unfinished for a number of years. Now, when the new contractor comes on site, they're probably going to have to spend money on repairing the infrastructure that already been put in place. And that's our concern as well, is that money is spent, roads are left incomplete for a long period of time, and then when you start to resuscitate those projects, you have to spend money going back to repair what you'd already put in place. So just to highlight to the person who asked that question, we are very concerned. In terms of the Gautrain, let me answer it in this way. The Gautrain was put into place, was constructed, and has started to make a major impact on the corridors where the Gautrain was running. Firstly, let me give you a couple of figures. Up until to date, more or less up until now, there have been around about 126 million train passengers have used that train over the period of time that the Gautrain has been in operation. We've seen the buses that are in place transporting 40 million bus passengers to date as well. Now, before the lockdown took place, we were seeing a situation where the Gautrain was starting to reach a situation where it was about to start reaching almost capacity on many of the routes that it operates. So much so that plans were in place to purchase new train coaches to ensure that we had additional coaches available to meet the demand that we were starting to see. Before the lockdown, we were seeing on average around about 55,000 passengers a day using that train. And obviously, with the pandemic that's facing not only our country, but the entire world, the ridership volumes have decreased. And it's not just here in South Africa. We're seeing that around the world because of this tragic pandemic that has impacted our lives and the lives of the world. So the Gautrain is not making a profit necessarily, but it's had a huge economic impact. I've spoken about the volumes of passengers, and every passenger who had been using the Gautrain and uses the Gautrain, it's probably one less vehicle on the road. So it's having a major impact on greenhouse emissions. Also, if we look at some of the stations, let's look at Sandton, let's look at Rosebank, let's look at some of the other stations. I can also talk about Midrand, where in Midrand, before the Gautrain station was opened there was hardly any development around that area where the station is. Now, when you go there are blocks of flats that have gone up, and all of that, most of that has gone up since the Gautrain was in operation, and we've seen a station there. If we look at Rosebank, the enormous amount of development that's taken place because of the Gautrain station and the access it provides to workers and to people who live in that area as well, but more importantly to people who are coming into the area to work in some of those buildings that have been constructed. We've seen the same in Sandton and so on. So yes, it probably, well, it's not making a profit at the moment. The Gautrain Management Agency is also looking at other initiatives on how to increase the profitability, not only of the train, but of the infrastructure that's been put in place. The stations, how do they use the stations? How can they use that stations to generate additional income? We are concerned as a portfolio committee as well about the decrease in ridership levels. We understand why, because of the pandemic that we are facing, but we've raised with the Gautrain Management Agency a few weeks ago that they need to look at all different possibilities of what they can do to try and attract people back onto the Gautrain. Obviously, The level 4 that we're in now has probably had an impact again. And it's something that we're going to have to accept and understand, that as we navigate our lives and this path and this road through the pandemic, it may take a while for us to get back to the volumes that we had before. But certainly the Gautrain has made an impact. Let me add one last thing on the Gautrain. There are plans afoot to expand the Gautrain around the province. The planning stage is in progress, and we will hopefully in the next few years start to see construction and start to see new links and new routes being opened up around the province, and making the Gautrain available and easily accessible to citizens around the province, which will also help. On the issue of Hendrik Potgieter Road, I didn't quite catch the question. I'm not sure if it has to do with an upgrade of Hendrik Potgieter, but I would be happy if yourselves, Hector, could forward me the details for, I think it's Mr. Willie van der Schuyf who asked that question. We certainly can get the information he's looking for and come back to him on that. I think I've answered everything that I was asked to answer, so let me stop there. Thanks very much.
Okay, there was an issue on. Thanks very much for your response, Honorable Schneemann. The Gautrain issue, a very big issue, but I think I heard what you were saying, that not necessarily profitable, not having that return on investment, but it has the other spin-offs, in and around where it's operating indirectly. So. There was an issue on license, or is it the new one? Provide the committee's position on driver's license renewal process that is online, but ineffective. You might have answered that. Let me just say that I did highlight to Sean, our technical person here, that when we get to around an hour of this broadcast, the quality, for some weird reason, and it's starting to happen right now, it starts crackling, and hearing you, it becomes very hard and becomes a bit challenging for me also to moderate, because I cannot hear all the speakers very clearly. And I know if you, as Honorable Gregory Schneemann, starts crackling, then there's a problem, because you never really had a problem with connectivity at all. So, but did you tackle the issue of license renewal? It was one of the questions. Did you tackle that?
Yes, I did answer that. If I can just indicate to you, there's no problem on my side. There's no noise on my side in terms of connectivity, but it may well be the connectivity issues in general. I did answer that question. What I'd like to ask, if I could please be given, or if my contact details, which you have already, and my email address could be given to the person who asked that question, if they've got more information they want or anything else they want to share, so that they can forward it to me. And the same for Mr. Willie van der Schuyf on Hendrik Potgieter, or otherwise if I could get their contact details. Thanks very much.
Thank you so much. I'm going to ask you, Willie, once again to please retype your question around Hendrik Potgieter. What happened is that I lost the questions at some point earlier on. Something happened on my app here that we are using, and I lost all the questions. Thus, I had asked, please reload the questions here again. So the only thing that I'm seeing from you, Willie, is around West Rand Agriculture Hub, Talton, Lanseria, and Magaliesberg. But you had asked something about Hendrik Potgieter Road, which I'm not so sure whether it is. Well, it did actually even emphasize that it's a provincial road. We're going to go back to you, Honorable Makubela. Honorable Lesego Makubela, to deal with this question of what was. No, I think this was yours. This was yours, Honorable Makubela, or the one around agriculture, because that's the portfolio that you are looking at. And I hope that you are ready to respond to that one. And while you are, just before you respond, may I read out this one. In communities like Westbury and New Clare, there are no taxi ranks. For example, it's taxi operations using Rahima Musa Hospital as their rank, but there is no actual infrastructure there. Can the portfolio committee maybe push to have these communities and others being considered by the relevant departments during budget allocations? He says, Musia Nuzile Sietelo, listening on Kofifi FM in Westbury. Thank you for that question. Mtoko Madlala says the system is always without slots. Can't the department allow renewals at post office like motor renewal? And then Zamate, trains are a national competency, Metro Rail. However, its impact is felt and mostly in GP as an economic hub for the working class. Is there an alternative to improving the public bus transport that is also in disarray in the province? And I suspect that one goes out to you, again, Honorable Schneeman. And yeah, those are the questions. So I'm going to allow you, Honorable Leseho Makubela, to go first.
No, thank you very much. I think one of the things that I wanted to ask was if you could repeat that question for me, because I might have missed it because of the network issues.
The question around, listen to this. It says, would you appreciate the views? He would really, Van der Scape says, I would appreciate the views of the committee on the Rand Agriculture Hub. That is, the hub covers Taunton, Lanseria, and Mahalisburg.
No, thank you very much. There's a lot of work that has been done on the hub. We have raised some of the concerns with the committee, but we realized when we did our FIS, when we visited the site, the Western Agricultural Hub, we realized that the bulk of the challenges that are bedeviling the hub itself have to do a lot with the challenges that are faced by the municipality. And that's where the challenges are. In terms of what the Department of Agriculture has done, all that was needed from the side of the Department of Agriculture was done. But the only challenge remained with the challenges that are faced by the municipality. We've pressed the municipality for answers in terms of the supply of the supply of bulk services, which includes water and electricity, remains a big challenge. And as a result, those who are working at the hub have to resort to actually spending a lot of money on the generator, spending money on diesel and all sorts of things. And these are the challenges that we have to face. I mean, we have there's another work that we're doing there in the same area, Isigayo milling, facing the same challenges. And the bulk of the challenges, again, have to do with some of the challenges or the incompetencies, if I may say, the incompetencies of the municipality. And as a result, we have asked the department to find ways in which we are able to mitigate such challenges, especially where you implement a project that you implemented working with the local sphere of government in that part of the province. We have to find ways that we are able to ensure that we do not rely just only on the municipalities for the provision of bulk infrastructural services such as water and electricity. We find a way that we even can harness the energy of the sun or actually even ensure that, especially with the proclamation which has been made by the minister and the president, that we can have plants, companies and anyone generating power on their own, that we find creative ways that we can do that. We know that, for instance, the Department of Education built the school, and where it faced challenges with the influent municipality, they were able to ensure that they install a borehole which was used to ensure that there's constant water supply. So we have to come up with creative means in order to ensure that projects such as that don't fail due to the incompetency of the municipality. Thank you.
We are losing you now. we lost you just there when you're talking about the incompetency of the municipality. Are you still there, Honorable Makubela?
Yes, I'm here. I was saying, as I said, that we have to ensure that projects such as that they do not come to a total halt, or they do not collapse because of failures of municipalities to live to their other end of the agreement, which is to ensure that they provide bulk services. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Honorable Makubela. I think we're going to go towards wrapping up the session because of the poor quality of our microphones. Like I said, they started deteriorating as we have just crossed over the 1 hour mark. Really, I'm hoping that you managed to hear the response of Honorable Lesego Makubela. And that question on Hendrik Potgieter Road hasn't popped up again yet. On the lookout for it. I haven't seen it yet. So I suppose we should just shoot straight to Zama's question about trains being a national competency and Gauteng being an economic hub, and the working class being the ones using that. We all know that. Is there an alternative to improving the public bus transport that is also in disarray in the province? And then also the one around the Westbury and Nuclear taxi ranks.
No, thanks very much, Hector. Let me just make a... Okay. Firstly, Metro Rail, it's quite correct. It's a national competency. And it falls under the National Department of Transport, in fact, under PRASA as well. But let me just say this, that at the moment, we have seen a lot of major disruptions to train services, in part and in the main because of the vandalism that we saw taking place during the lockdown last year. The National Minister of Transport has made announcements about work that will be starting to take place in the latter part of this year and the early part of next year to repair all of that infrastructure and to get all those affected train lines up and running and operational again, which would make a huge difference to commuters who rely on trains for their transport and are able to use them at the moment. But it's a national competency. In terms of bus transport, I can't necessarily comment. If the question is related to municipal buses, it's not a matter that I could really comment on, but I'll come back to that. Safe to say that the Department of Roads and Transport in the province has responsibility for various routes and a number of contracts for bus operators. And those contracts have not been renewed for quite a number of years for various reasons. And the portfolio committee, the previous portfolio committee, has been raising this matter on an ongoing basis with the department. And I can say this, that we have been assured by the MEC, and it was also in his budget speech presented to the legislature a few weeks ago, that in this current financial year, that is 2021 to 2022, there are 3 subsidized bus contracts that will be advertised and that would lead to the appointment of new bus operators, contracts and operators, and that's for the routes covering Soweto, Hammanskraal, and Tembisa, Tsakani, and Vosloorus. There are 5 other contracts which will be advertised, and we are advised that those are planned for 2022-2023 financial years. Let me just say this, that on these 3 contracts that are going to be advertised in this financial year, as a portfolio committee, we will pay close attention to that. We will be monitoring the advertising process through to the awarding of contracts, because of concern to us is that on those routes at the moment, the transport, the buses that are being used, the service that's provided is not what we would want to see provided. We expect better. It sometimes causes an inconvenience to commuters. And so whilst we are happy about the contracts being advertised and leading to new operators being put in place, we are concerned that it's taken so long. And these delays, by the way, were already there before the current MEC Mamabolo was appointed in 2019. So it's historical. We applaud the fact that action is being taken, and we look forward to these contracts being advertised and new bus operators being put in place. There was also a question on being able to renew motor vehicle licenses at post offices. That is there. There are various post offices, not all, but there are various post offices around the province where you can go and renew your motor vehicle license. Perhaps there's a need for the department to look at maybe rolling this out to more post offices, because I renew my motor vehicle license at the post office every year. It's smooth, it's efficient, you don't stand in long queues, and you're able to do it quickly. Obviously, with COVID-19, we are seeing longer queues at post offices, not because of the renewals, but because of the fact that there's a restriction on capacity of people that can go into a post office at any given time, given the pandemic that we are facing. I didn't get the question around the Westbury and Nuclear taxi ranks. Perhaps given the connectivity we're having, maybe you could repeat the question, or I could get details on that. But let me stop there.
Okay. It is from Musimanu Tsile Sietelo, listening on Kofifi FM in Westbury. He says, in communities like Westbury and Nuclear, there are no taxi ranks. An example is taxi operators using Rahima Musa Hospital as their rank, but there is no actual infrastructure there. Can the portfolio committee maybe push to have these communities and others being considered by their relevant departments during the budget allocation? We're asking for a taxi rank in those communities, Westbury and Nuclear.
No, thanks for that, Hector. Look, offhand right at the moment, I'm not sure whether taxi ranks in those areas would be a provincial competency or a municipal competency. If I can get given the contact details of the person who's answered the question, we'll undertake to find out whether that's a provincial or municipal competency. If it falls under the province, we would certainly raise that with the province to look at that. However, if it falls under the municipality of Johannesburg, we would then forward this to the municipality of Joburg. We bring it to the attention of the MEC as well, and we'd try and give some kind of feedback to the person who's raised the question. I hope that assists. Thanks very much.
Thank you. And I was very happy because I had written it here, but was still to come to it around the issue of vandalism that has happened, because it has cost the economy billions and has really taken us back in so ways as a province, that the infrastructure is all but finished. I live my mother is around the Harankua in Pretoria area, so I know the Mabopani rail is almost finished. And I did hear the national minister addressing that issue, but I'm happy that provincially there's also work going to be done. But then also in the budget is there provision for security, because it wouldn't help that the infrastructure is rebuilt only to be looted and vandalized again. So is the committee maybe going to look at issues like that to say that, but how do we mitigate against vandalism?
Look, let me just say this, that obviously Metro Rail is a national competency. It's not a provincial competency. Therefore, the provision of security, etc., would not fall and come out of the budget of the province. That would come out and be a responsibility of national, PRASA. However, I suppose that there probably are at times discussions between national and province, but we're not aware of that. But as I say, it's a national competency. It's very sad that infrastructure got vandalized in the way it did. And if I can just say that we met with the Gautrain Management Agency a few weeks ago, and we asked them, how did they ensure that there was no tampering with the infrastructure of the Gautrain in Gauteng? And that's a fact. Nothing was tampered with, nothing was stolen. And they they basically indicated to us the security that they have in place. And it's one thing that they watched those rail lines, they watched that infrastructure very carefully during the lockdown. I can't comment on what may or may not have happened. Safe to say that we are happy that the national minister has announced steps that are being taken to repair the infrastructure that's been damaged due to vandalism. And I think we must all condemn vandalism of such a nature. It's unacceptable. Nobody has the right to go and damage infrastructure, to go and steal infrastructure that has been provided to be used by the citizens of our country. And so those people who might be listening, who may have been involved in that, all I can say is you should be ashamed of yourselves. I hope you get discovered. And if you're found guilty, I hope you serve the sentence that you deserve. Thanks very much.
Thank you so much for that. Honorable Joe Mpisi, is it true? It's true there are no taxi ranks and the department can build taxi ranks. That's what comes from Honorable Joe Mpisi. He would know, given that he's looking at that. What is it that Honorable Joe Mpisi was looking at? We saw it yesterday there. Finance portfolio. So I don't know whether this is an assurance that that there's something that can be done about that, because he says it's true there are no taxi ranks in those areas and the department can build taxi ranks. So I suppose you're saying that it's not a national mandate, but it can be done by the province. And then he is asking, where's the chairperson of Infrastructure Portfolio Committee? I guess well, we didn't really get. I didn't get the word as to what happened to the chairperson there, Honorable MG Mudise. I do not know. Maybe the organizers can be able to tell as to why we didn't have Honorable Mudise here. Well, this brings us to the end of today's proceedings. Zamatela, I just see you saying PARTCO chairperson. I don't know what you're saying about PARTCO. PARTCO chairperson, unless if that rings, that says something to the transport chairperson, the chairperson of the transport portfolio committee. When somebody says PARTCO, what comes into your mind? Is there anything to be answered there?
Well, it's difficult to read what the person is actually asking. It could be in relation to the bus contracts. But what I would suggest is either if you can give me the contact details of that particular person, or you give them my contact details so that I can actually be able to find out what they're actually wanting to ask, and so that we can respond accordingly. Thank you.
It is exactly 19:29, which is 29 minutes past 7, and we have come to the end of this session. If please, Mail and Guardian, I see there our host. I see you have the contacts of Honorable Gregory Schneemann. If you could please also put the contacts of Honorable let's say Makubela, in case some people want to take what you are saying further. I think that will be fair that we have both their contact details. I just want to thank all of you for having asked the questions. Zamatrele, Mtogod Mdlala, Musimanutsile, Setelo, Mtogo Mdlala Sable, thank you. You've been with us from Monday. Vili, thank you so much. And everybody else who was here, thank you again, Gauteng Provincial Legislature, for sponsoring these this series of conversations. We're in conversations with all the chairpersons of the different portfolio committees. Unfortunately, some couldn't make it this week, some did make it. But for those who are here, thank you for coming forward to fulfill your mandate of public participation. And we just want to thank Ngangala FM listeners, Hope FM listeners, Moretele, Soshanguve FM listeners, and Kofifi FM listeners and their management. Thank you so much for coming through tonight. And Mail and Guardian YouTube channel, thank you so much for those who are watching there and those who are on this channel. And thanks for all the questions. And thanks to both the chairpersons who are with us today. Unless if you have your parting shots, we are done.
Yes, may I have a parting shot? Hector?
Okay, Honorable Schneeman first. Yes.
No, I just firstly want to say thank you very much to Mail and Guardian, to the Gauteng Provincial Legislature, to the community radio stations for making this possible, and all those that have been listening. I hope one has been able to explain a little bit more about the work of the Portfolio Committee, the Department of Roads and Transport, and how we perform our oversight. My final comments would be to all of those who own motor vehicles, please make sure you renew your licenses for your motor vehicles. Do it on time. It's the right thing to do. Also, to make an appeal to all the users of the road, whether you're in motor vehicles, trucks, motorcycles, whatever you drive, please obey the rules of the road. Make sure you arrive alive, and also please make sure you don't drink and drive. Remember, the demerit system is going to come into operation at some stage this year, hopefully. And if you're going to be a reckless driver, driving through roadbacks, red robots, breaking the rules of the road, it's going to impact on your ability to continue driving, because at some stage your license will get suspended. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And Honorable Leseho Makubela, I see somebody's also actually saying that it's Sable. Yeah, Sable, saying that details, please. So in closing, what would you say? And if we could have your details as well.
No, thank you very much for having us. Remember, I'm staying in for the chairperson. I'm not the actual chairperson of the portfolio committee, but I've enjoyed thoroughly to engage with yourself, your audience, and the questions that have been posed. I think that we were asking the people of Gauteng in all corridors of our province, whether it's in the Vaal, in Johannesburg, in the city of Tshwane, in Sidibeng, in Ekurhuleni, that they must be able to interact with all our agencies, that they must be able to also assist us in monitoring the work of both the Department of Agriculture and the Economic Development and its agencies, that they must be able to actually play a meaningful part, especially take advantage of the opportunities that are presented by the department and its agencies. We have a revamped JAP for those who are in business. They must make use of it. They must make use of all the opportunities that will come with. But I've enjoyed interacting with you, and thank you very much.
You are welcome, sir. And Nkosazana Ndlovu says thank you. A big thank you to Gauteng Provincial Legislature for sponsoring this webinar. And Mail and Guardian, thank you for hosting. And thanks to everybody who has been here tonight. Thanks to both our chairpersons, Makubela Leseho, and Honorable Leseho Makubela and Honorable Gregory Schneeman. Thank you so much, guys.